When the red hand hits
There's
12.
55 pages in this section.
All right.
No, I like it standing up and down here.
According to the guy in there, that runs differently. So
Here we go.
fast.
Moving.
5 seconds.
I have that 27-inch monitor.
You're in the back row?
That way I can
Okay, good evening, everyone. This is the Grand Traverse County
print out.
Resource Management Administration Committee. Today is Wednesday, May 8th. It is just about 7 p.m. We will call this meeting to order. If you have a cell phone, if you put it on silent or vibrate, that would be appreciated. We will start with the opening ceremonies, and that would be the pledge. And if Commissioner Thomas could lead us in that pledge, we'd appreciate that.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can the clerk call the roll call attendance, please?
Commissioner Lathrop?
I'm here. I can talk too.
Hey, he's got his voice back.
Yeah.
Max Bauer? Here. Limcool?
Here.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas?
Yep.
Rennie?
Yeah.
Inman?
Here. Okay, we have a quorum and all in attendance. Next is the approval of the April 10th, 2013 regular session minutes of the RMA Committee. Need a motion to approve.
I'd make that motion.
All right, moved by Commissioner Rennie. Is there a second? Support. Second by Commissioner Wheelock to approve those minutes on April 10th. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
I have to abstain. I wasn't here.
All right, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Max Bauer? Yes. Limcool?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas?
Yep.
Rennie?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Abstain.
Inman?
Yes. Okay. Next is public comment. Just before the clerk reads the rules, I'll just let you know that we tried to be as flexible as possible, and if there's an issue on the agenda, you can speak to it now, or you can speak about any other item regarding public government, county government, or if you'd like to get our attention during the item when it comes up, please let us know. The clerk could read the rules for public comment.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions, if any. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak. Public comment will be solicited during the 2 public comment periods noted in Rule 5.4, Order of Business. However, public comment will generally be received at any time during the meeting regarding a specific topic currently under discussion by the board. Members of the public wishing to comment should raise their hand or pass a note to the clerk in order to be recognized, and shall not address the board until called upon by the chairperson.
Okay, you have heard the guidelines for public comment. Does any member of the public wish to speak at this time? Okay, so seeing no indication, we will close public comment. We will move on to the next item, which is the approval of our agenda today. Just a footnote, you have on your desk 2 resolutions that are part of the agenda items in your packet that we will need to address. We don't need to amend the agenda for that, but under the administrator's report, working with a concern that NACO has given us regarding Congress's direction in possibly taking away the tax exemption on municipal bonds, increasing our financing and putting a real rub on our ability to market our bonds if that would occur. We have a resolution that we thought we would put together for this committee. I'd like to add that just so that you know that's going to be added to the administrator's report, because he put that together for me today. I think that's it under any comments regarding the agenda. So we need approval to...
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the agenda with the resolutions provided this evening.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, moved by Commissioner Wheelock, seconded by Commissioner Lathrop to approve the agenda as presented, along with the 3 resolutions on our desk as indicated. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. We have an agenda. All right, now we have special orders of business, and we're pleased to have MSU Extension. They have an economic impact presentation by Pat Cooney. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And you have the floor.
My name is Patrick Hudney. I'm the district coordinator with Michigan State University. I represent the extension program in the 9 counties of Northwest Lower Michigan. Annually, I provide for you an update on our programs, on our services, the number of people served, and the impacts of those programs. What I'm presenting for you tonight is something that's a little bit different, and we're excited to preview it for you. This is a brand new website that went live after the first of the year. It's a website called My Spartan Impact, M-I Spartan Impact. And I think you will find it interesting. It contains a variety of data and impact statements about the work that the entire university, the land-grant university, provides across the state of Michigan, and it's broken down by district or region. So the region that I'll be reflecting about tonight is District 3 or Region 3, which is the 9 counties that I provide leadership for. This is an interactive and live website, so I would encourage you to just Google MI Spartan Impact, and it'll take you directly to this website. If you move the cursor over Region 3 or District 3, you'll see a few numbers pop up. And those numbers relate to the current enrolled students at Michigan State University from these 9 counties, and there's 907 of those students. Alumni residing in this district, once again residing in these 9 counties, are 8,836 alumni living in these 9 counties. The university spent on local businesses. We spent on businesses in the 2011-2012 fiscal year over $2 million of business that we did, spending that generates income in the local economies. So if a business has an address that's located in one of these 9 counties, that business is attributed, and that statistic is attributed to our district or Region 3. The total economic impact of the university, of Michigan State University, on the local economy in these 9 counties was over $92 million. That figure is from 2011, and how that figure is generated is 7 years ago when the University Research Corridor was established. The University Research Corridor is the universities of Michigan State University, University of Michigan, and Wayne State. The Anderson Economic Group was commissioned to annually evaluate and assess the economic impact of those 3 institutions on the state of Michigan. They can extrapolate the data out by institute, by university, and be able to talk about the economic impact of those individual universities across the state. It takes them a year to gather that data, analyze the data, and provide that report. So that report that I'm referring to came out January 13th of this year, of 2013, and it's actually for 2011 calendar year. So it takes a year for that data to come out. If you would like to, and I encourage you to learn more about that data, you can scroll down to the bottom of the website, and you can click on About this website, and it talks about all the statistics that I'm going to present to you tonight and where those statistics were arrived at. If you scroll to the very bottom when you're looking at the total economic impact, again, this is linked directly to that report, which you'll be able to pull off and review for yourself should you choose to. And this is the report that's been commissioned by the University Research Corridor from the Anderson Economic Group. And again, as you can see, that report was generated and made available on January 4th, 2013. There's an 8-page executive summary if you don't want to read all 70 pages. And I'd encourage you to start there. Going back to the main website itself, I hope. I'd like to go back and draw your attention back to Region 3, or District 3. If you click on that region or district, it takes you to another data set, which contains even more information pertinent directly to District 3. Again, we have 907 enrolled students. We currently have 32 students from these 9 counties that are enrolled in one of our 2 medical colleges, our College of Human Medicine or our College of Osteopathic Medicine. Of the 8,836 alumni that reside in the district, you can click on this drop-down and you can see the college at Michigan State University from where they received their degree from, whether that be a bachelor's degree or a graduate degree, a master's or PhD. Again, the spending on local businesses was over $2 million. Yes, Commissioner Maxbauer?
How do you know that you have 8,836 alumni in the region? And I ask this question because my husband went to MSU.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how you know he's here.
The,
So,
again, I'm going to refer this back to about the website, and I'm sure that comes from our alumni office, and I'm going to verify that.
okay, so in all likelihood, there are more alumni than that because he doesn't participate in any of this stuff, so.
It's probably all the ones that they send envelopes to send checks back.
I have a feeling they'll find him.
I'm not so sure.
So, alumni residing in the region by college and degree they received was data published here was based on information available as of September 20th, 2012, and that is provided by our alumni office or alumni affairs.
Okay, so there in all likelihood are more alumni residing than are actually listed.
Potential is there, yeah.
Well, I know a few.
Okay. Again, the total economic impact was over $92 million. Here's another hot button. If you scroll over to the statewide impact, it'll take you to that same report that I already referenced earlier. We have 51 faculty and staff that reside in this region, and we dispersed over $12,553,000 of financial aid to students from these 9 counties. We have almost 12,000 4-H youth participants with our 4-H youth development program. We own 6 acres in these 9 counties. There are 36 medical interns, residents, fellows, and 1 partner hospital. That partner hospital is Munson Medical Center, right here in Traverse City. Again, this is an all-university website. This is not just a website about the MSU Extension program. But if you scroll further down the region or district page, it talks about programs and partnerships that the university has. And I'm proud to report that 6 of the 8 partnerships and programs that are highlighted on this page are MSU Extension efforts and programs. And again, these are hot linked. If we want to click on improving health care for tribal elders, this is a program conducted by Emily Proctor. She's a tribal extension educator. She works out of our Emmett County office, but she works right here with the Grand Traverse Band of Odawa Indians, along with 2 other tribal communities within our district. And you can find out more about this program through the hot link and through this website. Her picture normally comes up, but it might be taking a minute to load. Other programs that we'd highlight is transforming Michigan into a wine destination, which is certainly prevalent and a successful growth industry right here in Grand Traverse County. Another program I think that you'll recognize, because it's right here in Traverse City, is Mark Braderland, our District Sea Grant educator. And the avian botulism issue that seems to rear its head every summer as waterfowl start washing up on the Lake Michigan shoreline. Again, type E botulism is a naturally occurring botulism that affects fish. When the migrating waterfowl ingests the fish, it affects their nervous system. Ultimately, the waterfowl can't hold their head up and they drown, is actually how the birds die. But as loons and other birds start washing up on Lake Michigan beaches, people get very concerned. And we do a series of press releases. We're partnering with a number of agencies to make sure people understand this is not a threat to human health. Type E botulism is not a threat to human health. Certainly the carcass of the birds can be, and we do part of carcass counts. We collect those through volunteers that walk the beaches. And Mark Braderland, this is one of his programs and one of his articles from right here in Grand Traverse County. So again, I bring just a few of these examples to your attention to highlight, again, that this is an all-university website, but 6 of the 8 programs that are identified here are MSU Extension programs. Down at the very bottom of that page, you'll see my contact information for MSU Extension District 3 and the contact information for the 4 alumni clubs that reside within District 3. And you'll see the Grand Traverse Alumni Club, and Kieran Mueller is the current president of the Grand Traverse Alumni Club. Something else I'd like to share with you now is, I know this data is interesting. It's statewide data. We can provide regional data, but I thought you might find it interesting to provide you Grand Traverse County specific data. So I have some handouts that Administrator Dave Benda is going to pass around. Thank you so much for doing so. This individual county data is not available via this website. This website is based on statewide data and available by district data. But again, I work with 9 different elected boards of commissioners. I work with different economic development groups. And so I aggregate this data out and I create fact sheets for each individual county or each individual audience that I'm presenting to. So what you have in front of you, again, is the data specific to Grand Traverse County. And I'll quickly walk through that data. Grand Traverse County currently has 283 students enrolled at Michigan State University. We have 12 students from Grand Traverse County that are enrolled in one of our 2 medical colleges. We have 3,907 alumni, maybe a few more, that reside in Grand Traverse County.
Need one more to round it off.
This next figure, I think you'll find
Give him his name.
very impressive, because I do. The university spent on local businesses in Grand Traverse County during the 2011-2012 fiscal year $1,666,382. And again, those are hard dollars spent on local businesses.
Is most of that agricultural?
I can't say that. It certainly is agricultural. It's based on our programs. If we hold a conference or workshop at Grand Traverse Resort and we write a check to Grand Traverse Resort, that counts.
Perfect.
We buy our supplies for our programs locally. The medical program that are here spends money. So again, if there was a business that had a Grand Traverse County address and the university did a direct payment voucher to, we used our operating budgets, we received an invoice from and paid it. If it was a Grand Traverse County business, that figure is attributed to this $1,666,000 figure.
Okay.
Yep. Again, the total economic impact on Grand Traverse County in 2011 was $41,929,143. And you can pull the information directly from the Anderson Economic Group's report on how they extrapolate that data. It's spending, it's research that creates patents, that creates business and commerce. It's the value of educational programs. It's the value of a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a PhD. Lots of things go into that total economic impact figure, but it is an annual figure. So next year at this time, I'll be able to provide you data on 2012. We dispersed $3,890,972 of financial aid to students from this county. We have 1,157 4-H youth and adult volunteers in this county. It's a large and impressive number. We don't own any property in Grand Traverse County. It's not taxable anyway. So we have 18 medical interns, residents, and fellows that currently reside in or work in or are completing their education in Grand Traverse County. And again, our partner hospital is the Munson Medical Center. For more information or additional information, I've put over on the right-hand side, you can see the website for Myers-Spartan Impact. We also have the website for MSU Extension, and once again, my contact information. That concludes my presentation tonight. I'd be willing to answer any questions that I could for you.
Anyone? Commissioner Maxbauer.
I'm looking at, I love this iPad thing. Thank you, Commissioner Rennie, because you were the driving force behind this. I'm looking at the 4-H youth participants in Region 3, and it lists 11,668, okay? I'm looking at what you handed out for Grand Traverse County, 1,157 4-H youth and adult participants. Grand Traverse County gives general fund money to the 4-H program.
Correct.
How much money do the other counties give to the 4-H program so that I can somehow take a look at what Grand Traverse County participates in versus other counties versus the local youth participation?
Sure.
Am I making myself clear?
I understand. I understand exactly what you're asking. And again, it's not giving money directly to the 4-H program. We have a contract called a Memorandum of Agreement. That's a 5-year agreement we signed with the Board of Commissioners 3 years ago. That 5-year agreement is predicated on an annual plan of work that is our annual contract. It's our financial arrangement that the university has with county government. The cost of that is based on population. It's the same cost based on population for every county in the state. The population base was the 2010 census.
Okay, so other counties participate the same way Grand Traverse County does? Is that what
Yes,
I'm
they
hearing?
do. Grand Traverse County, again, in the base memorandum, Grand Traverse County pays for an additional half-time for our 4-H youth development position, as well as a number of counties in District 3 pay the same thing. The base assessment is 31 cents per resident of the county, and that provides all of the programs and resources for Michigan State University Extension, not just the 4-H youth development program.
Okay.
The addition, does that answer your question?
It does, thank
Okay,
you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions? Commissioner Wheelock.
Matt, or Pat, we need to at some point or another have a discussion though about the difference from the base services that we have the 5-year contract to what our actual annual appropriation is to MSU Extension, because we all know that's a significantly different number. So we really should have some discussion at some point or another about the other services. We know about the base services that are in that original $68,000 or something like that.
Close.
My memory is right. That's the base service, but somewhere between that $68,000, which includes the 4-H program, and what our annual appropriation to MSU Extension. There are a number of other programs built into that. And I'm not saying that they aren't good programs, we just somehow or another need to evaluate all of those other programs also, and what those individual programs cost and how many people they're serving.
Fair question, and I'll be providing that information as part of our annual
As
report.
part of our annual report and part of our budget process, we will be needing that information.
Quickly, I would like to again remind the commissioners that there's one program that is provided through the MSU Extension Office in Grand Traverse County that is unique to Grand Traverse County, and that's the Injury Prevention Coalition North Shore Safe Kids. The rest of the costs are built into infrastructure, salary for the support staff that you provide, office space. All of that is part of the contract, is we ask counties to provide office space, internet connections, telephone, and support staff to help assist county residents access our resources. So the one additional program is the Injury Prevention Coalition.
Right. And, you know, it's certainly a program that we support, and we will continue to support, I think. You know, it's just, there is quite a difference from that $68,000 baseline appropriation to where our budget actually ends up. So we need to talk about those numbers.
All right, Commissioner Maxbauer.
Well, as long as Commissioner Wheelock mentioned it, when I was out washing windows at Twin Lakes, I did see our Safe Kids program. I mean, there were sheriff deputies' cars all over, and they were teaching injury prevention for kids. And I just wanted to mention that.
Good.
I want to say I very much appreciate the opportunity to present this website to you. I ask you to share this website with others within the community. If you see other opportunities where you would like me to present this data, Michigan State University is here in Grand Traverse County. We are doing business in Grand Traverse County. You look at the overall economic impact of the university on this county and the amount of money alone we spend on local businesses. I think it provides you some data that's unique and different from what we've been able to provide before in terms of numbers served and the impacts of those programs when you can see hard dollars. So I appreciate the opportunity to present this to you this evening and look forward to future interactions.
All right, thank you.
Not
Appreciate
just
you
hard
coming.
dollars, but hard numbers.
And I must
because
say,
I'd like to maybe even talk to you at some point or another about doing a presentation for the Livestock Council. I think it would be a valuable thing to them. They seem to forget about their little piece of the world. That's all they want to talk about.
Sure.
Chris, did you have something?
I do. I have, as I told Chairman Inman, I have purchased his Christmas present this year already. And
imagine
so
what it
I
is.
feel compelled to say go green.
Oh! Here we go. Ooh.
I'm going to step away on that note.
Ooh, I'm feeling the pain already.
man.
It's not even at December yet, I'm feeling the pain.
Wait until you see it.
This isn't
It's
progressive. We didn't
priceless.
see a chart with other universities and listed, it would be side by side, you know.
All right. Okay,
Pat.
that concludes special orders of business. We will now go on to the consent calendar. If the clerk can read the consent calendar.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file or approval, is approved by a single committee action adopting the consent calendar. A, receive and file. Number one, road commission report. Number 2, Conservation District monthly parkland responsibilities. B, approval. Number 1, 2013 hauler license, Leslie's Landscaping.
Okay, you've heard the reading of the consent calendar. I've already received a request from Jim Cook, Road Commission Manager, to request to pull off the Road Commission report so he can give a verbal, and actually he has some information within the packet I think is valuable as it relates to some questions that previously occurred at a past meeting. So I think that's good that he's going to give that additional information. So from any other members of the public, does anyone else want to pull an item from the consent calendar? Okay, coming to the county commission, does anyone wish to pull an item from the consent calendar?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the consent calendar with the pulling of the County Road Commission's monthly report.
Okay, is there a second? All right, second, moved by Wheelock, second by Commissioner Maxbauer. approve the consent calendar with the exception of item A1. Roll call vote, please.
Lemkool?
Yep.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas?
Yep.
Rennie?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Inman.
Yes. Motion passes. Okay, we will now move on to items removed from the consent calendar. That would be the road commission report. Jim, and you have the floor. You're welcome to join if you like. If you like. All right, okay.
Oh, come on, Mark.
All right, okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for letting me speak again. I wasn't sure if you wanted me to go through the whole report. The main reason I wanted to talk was really to talk about that attachment to the report. So,
That's titled 2008 Bond Road Ratings.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have one question on the report.
okay,
What is SAD litigation on Foxcraft?
it is sad.
Special assistant.
Special Assessment District.
Oh,
And,
Somebody doesn't think they should pay,
Oh,
obviously.
Yeah, so I guess just because we are in litigation, what I would say is we are in litigation on the Foxcraft subdivision project, which is a special assessment district.
okay.
And we'll have something to talk about here in a few months on that.
My brain wasn't thinking special assessment district, so,
Yeah,
okay.
this world of acronyms.
Well, sad
So-
would be appropriate. A
Pardon?
little humor there. Never mind. Keep
Yeah,
going,
yeah.
Jim.
Okay, so unless anybody has any questions, I thought it was important to at least talk about item 10, which is the status of the 2008 bond roads that we did. And a question came up last month.
and I raised that one. And I stand corrected now, but go ahead.
I think there was a concern that the money that we invested back in 2008 maybe wasn't a good investment or maybe didn't hold up. And so what you have is, you actually have a report here, and what I asked my staff to do is, tell me every road that we improved, tell me what the PASER rating was that made us decide to do that road as a project, and then tell me what it was when we finished the project, and then tell me what it was as of the last PASER rating, which was 2012. And so I'm very happy to let you know that, we took on, basically mostly threes, PASER ratings of 3s and 4s, and again, that's a standard rating that we use for paved surfaces, and it's an industry standard. A 10 is typically a brand-new road. A 1 is a road that, is beyond repair, and one that you don't want to drive on. And so, of those 3s and 4s that we took on, and I just did a quick calc, it was about 35 miles of roadway that we did with that last bond. And so they were all a 10 when we finished those projects. And I'm very pleased to say that as of 2012, most of them, they average between 7 and 8. We have some 9s, and then we have a couple 6s. And what I can also tell you is with our crack seal program that we've developed that we're going to start following, we're going to crack seal over 40 miles of roads in Grand Traverse County this year, and the majority of those are actually 2008 roads, and they've never been crack sealed. And typically you would crack seal them the year after they are constructed or redone, and so we're going to play some catch up, but with this program we are going to catch up. So that was the main thing I just wanted to talk about was I think that's really good news. I think it was a good investment, and this is just really just a small example of what we can do with a good asset management plan. And I'm not sure if we had it in our report, but I did submit a draft asset management plan to our board last month, and they'll be looking at more of a final draft this month, and then hopefully they'll approve it in June, and then we'll be able to share that with the townships, villages, the city, and with the county commissioners. So again, that really, the basis is really PASER ratings and managing our assets, what I would say a little more wisely and more efficiently, and this is really a good example of how that can work.
Okay, questions? Commissioner Lempool and then Commissioner Maxwell.
The only other thing that would help in this report, if it was done by townships, so that when you make your report to the townships, they can pull out and say, this was done in my township, this was done in my township, and so on and so forth. Just a suggestion.
No, that's a great recommendation.
Okay. Commissioner Maxwell.
Jim, when I went to the Michigan Association of Counties Economic Development Committee meeting last month, one of the things I heard was that road funding in the state legislature is basically dead. I heard that it was basically dead because legislators, in their infinite wisdom, are trying to put in a formula that will favor the southern part of Michigan. And so consequently, this is just what I heard during the committee meeting. So consequently, all of the legislators in the northern areas are going, I don't think so. Have you heard anything regarding an update regarding state funding for roads? And quite honestly, I think Commissioner Lempool at the last meeting said it's going to be up to us, and from what I heard last month, I think he's right. I think it's going to be up to us.
Yeah, what I'd like to say is I think, I mean, everybody here, I think we're all cautiously optimistic. I get information just about every day on it. Some people tell me it's going to go and we're going to get more money and things are going to be great. And then there are those concerns about the formula and how they calculate, who gets what. And I would absolutely agree with Commissioner Lempool, and I've been saying it for a while, is, I think at the end of the day, I think we're going to see additional funding. I don't think it's going to be enough. I think we here in Grand Traverse County are really going to have to step up to the plate. We're going to have to do what we can. Next month I'd like to come here and propose a 2013-2014 bond partnership with the county, similar to the 2008 bond. I think that's maybe a shot in the arm to help us kind of jumpstart things. And then again, the other thing is that winter maintenance millage would be huge for us. And again, because as I go and talk to the townships and when you put it in perspective, and we're spending 25% or more of our budget to plow snow and put salt on the road that all washes away, and come spring, when we really need to spend money on fixing roads, that money's gone. And nobody really, a couple months from now, nobody's going to remember all that snow plowing. And so that's something that, I'm going to be pushing very hard, is that winter maintenance millage.
The last few times I've been in the grocery store, I have been stopped about the roads.
Okay, Commissioner Thomas and then Commissioner Wheelock.
Yeah, just for your information, I was listening to the radio earlier today, and our representative stated that they were putting all their efforts into airport improvement and the roads were going to be on hold. That's what
Yes.
Wayne said today.
Yeah.
Commissioner Wheelock.
Well, when it comes to state funding, you say you're optimistic. I think you're hallucinating, but, it's, just tomato, tomato, I'm not sure. The last thing in your point number 11 here in this report talks about coming to the County Board of Commissioners for a possible bond unit in probably 2014, I would assume. As you may or may not know, I pushed very hard to the County Board and to the Road Commission on a safety basis for the bond issue that we issued in 2008. And I'm certainly willing to have the conversation again, because I do believe that the safety of our community depends on the safety of our roads. And although, we all think we've got it pretty bad, I had opportunity to go to a job in Lewiston last Saturday afternoon. Trust me, we have great roads in Grand Traverse. But,
There's one road that goes
What did
across
you
there.
take?
later in our agenda, we're going to discuss our plans for the 2014 budget process. So I would encourage you to get with David and let's get that thing on the agenda early. I don't like surprises after the budget's 2/3 done. So
Yeah.
let's try to at least have the discussion early in the process.
Yeah, what I'll have next month is I'll have a presentation, and it'll be, it'll be well proposed, what we'd like to do if we were to partner on a bond. You'll know exactly what we're going to do as far as road improvements and anything else that we'd like to take care of while we're at it.
Will include Lafreniere Road, or is that going to be done this year?
Lafreniere Road, that's a good point. I've talked to our commissioners, and people talk about Lafreniere Road, but nobody's doing anything.
I agree.
Everybody's for it, and so I think, as the road commission, I think we need to take the lead, and that means I need to get with Mr. Benda and Garfield Township, and I think we need to start planning. We should have been planning, but I think it's time, we got to do something.
We need to do something on that road.
Yeah. I guess the other thing I would say is, we have money in our budget to take on some of those projects, and so really, it's really just a matter of partners coming to the table and helping us figure out how to, split the cost and get the projects done.
Right, okay. Just a footnote, Sonny, I don't have that item on our agenda to talk about the budget process. That's probably Ways and Means.
Oh,
That'll be the Ways and
maybe it's the Ways and Means agenda because I approved that this afternoon. I'm sorry. You very well
I just
may be
went back
right.
and looked at the agenda, I go,
It
where
may
did I
be the
miss
Ways
this?
and Means
Yeah.
agenda. I
It's
approved
his-
that this
it's his
afternoon so it
cold.
could be distributed.
Yeah.
That's okay. All right, any other questions? Commissioner Thomas?
Motion to accept the road commission report.
Thank you.
Support.
Moved by Thomas, seconded by Lemkool to approve the road commission report. That'd be received and file. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Thanks for the update.
Appreciate
the
the-
additional information.
The heads up
Appreciate your
on
support.
the future agenda item.
All right, see you next month.
All right. That moves us on to department action items. The next, so the first one is district court, change in employee status. We would invite the district court up and get yourself introduced. Bring extra chairs if you'd like. And whoever would like to speak, you have the floor. If you can introduce yourself if you're going to speak, please.
We're
And
probably all
thank-
going to speak. I'm
Okay.
T.J. Phillips, I'm a district judge.
Carol Stocking, the court administrator.
Mike Stepka, I'm a district judge.
And then when you speak, if you could grab the microphone sometimes when you go back and forth in the discussion.
I think I'm going to take the lead.
Okay.
So, good evening.
Good evening.
We are here to present to you our request to change the status of our current magistrate in Traverse City, who is our only full-time magistrate, from magistrate to chief magistrate. She currently, as the memo I presented to you indicates, she has 20 years with the court. She has a ton of experience and expertise that we rely on. She already has been given the authority, or delegated the responsibility of supervising the out-of-county magistrates. And this is really just formalizing what's already been practiced. When the out-of-county magistrates have issues or problems of any type or make errors, and that does happen occasionally, Tammy is really the go-to person on all of those kinds of issues. And so we'd like to formalize her role as chief magistrate, and with that comes a salary and benefit change as well.
Okay.
Yes, and just to that point, Judge Phillips asked about, mentioned the financial impact. We do have some staffing changes going on within the court, and we will be able to absorb this $5,200 and some dollars, $5,228 increase in wages and benefits within our current budget. So it's not that we're here asking for any additional funding.
Okay. Any other remarks before we open it up for discussion?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment about Tammy Rogers. She is probably one of the best magistrates in the state. When the state court administrator's office picks someone or magistrate to train new magistrates, including attorney magistrates, they pick Tammy Rogers. So she does an excellent job. And we realize that all this comes out of your pocket one way or the other, but we're not asking for any additional monies out of your pocket by this, because we're going to be able to get it through other wage and staff situations. But I think this is, and this is something we need to look at when we meet annually with the other counties, because it's my thought that Tammy should go out more to the other counties and supervise. I mean, she's our full-time magistrate. She's been doing it for how many years?
20 years.
20 years. And the other magistrates are part-time magistrates, part-time clerks. And I think they could use more supervision so we have more uniformity as to what's going on in our district. And I would think that and obviously we'll have to see how it works out, but I could see her going a half day each month to Leelanau County, half day each month to Antrim County. And so that would be, if my math is right, that'd be a total of 12 days a year. And when we do our annual meeting with the other counties, I think that that's something that we should pass on to them. So starting next year, I think it'd be reasonable. And I think it would be, a savings to them in the long run, because 2014 we'll probably lose one of our district judges. Mm-hmm. And what we would like to do is avoid hiring a attorney magistrate, which may happen in the, and I'm thinking in terms of Antrim or Leelanau County. And if we can get the magistrates out there better trained, if Tammy could go out there a little bit more, I think that ultimately we'd be saving them money as well. So, because there's a statute that passed reducing judges throughout the state, and it's by attrition, so Judge Haley very well may retire at the end of 2014. One of the other district judges may be running for Judge Rogers' position if he retires in 2014. So if either of those happen and we were to lose a judge, that judge is going to be replaced. So we have to start planning now, and I think this is one of the first steps we would take. So you don't have to come up with any more money this year, and I would think next year we could look to the other counties and see if they would pitch in, because it's really going to be, I think, on them. So,
Okay. Judge Stepka, you have anything?
I think Carol and TJ summed it up well. I just support the request as well.
All right, thank you for coming. Okay, we open it up to the commission. Do we have a motion?
I just have a question.
All right, any
I
questions?
just want to
Sure.
know, what does the Supreme Court Judicial Review base the judge count on?
okay. Well,
We can't figure it out.
they establish how much time each particular kind of case might take. Then they multiply that factor by the number of types of cases we've had, okay? And the district court was always in pretty good shape until they took all the courts in our circuit and put them together, because we always justified our existence. And this was even without them giving us any additional credit for specialty courts. And we have, and I'm proud to say that we have a number of specialty courts in our district. We have a sobriety court that's been very successful. In fact, on a national basis, court judges come here to be trained. We have a mental health court that Mike Stepka is involved in, that's doing a good job for people that need help. We have a veterans court, and obviously, when veterans come back from where they served, a lot of them are having problems, okay, right now. I mean, they've been going through a really difficult time. It's even worse in my mind than the Vietnam veterans, because they keep going over and over again. And if they run afoul of the law, it's very difficult to reach out and get them turned around in our normal fashion. So, but we have a veterans court, and the VA, when we call them, they get right back, and we're getting help for veterans, okay. We have a domestic violence court, which I think is helping the community as well. And we've been very innovative, and we're trying to do a good job. That wasn't really getting full credit. This year, they're finally at least doing it for sobriety court, but not the other courts yet. So we can justify our existence, but when they put us all together, you have a probate judge in one of our counties, not Grand Traverse, that's doing the work of about a .26 judge. And you have a probate judge in another county, not Grand Traverse, that's doing the work of about a .55 judge. We start out 1.2 judges overjudged, okay? And they cannot get rid of probate judges, because under the Michigan Constitution, every county, unless they voted otherwise, are entitled to have their probate judge. And so they're going to get rid of one of us. And that's because we have too many judges and we're easy to get rid of, okay? You probably don't think we're easy to get rid of, but we are. We keep coming back, I know, so. And so that's why we're going to lose a judge.
Okay. Do we have a motion? Commissioner Wheelock?
I'll make the motion for the purpose of discussion.
I'll support.
So your motion is to
To
approve the recommendation?
Approve the change to title to Chief Magistrate for discussion.
And to move her grade level to a L, effective June 3rd, 2013. Okay, so it's moved by Wheelock and seconded by who?
That would have been me.
Commissioner Maxbauer. Okay, discussion.
I just have a question on it. Did the former board make a ruling that these changes can't be made?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
No.
yes or no? So what we're doing is making an exception to that?
I guess I don't remember that point.
No.
Commissioner
If I
Wheelock.
can get into the discussion part of the reason I made the motion. We need to remember.
It's
a
not that
couple
I'm
things.
against it, I just want to have this clarified.
Well,
Yeah.
a couple things. One, we have to remember that we are changing the title of the position. You know, Tammy may not be there 6 months from now, there may be someone else there. And once we make the change stays with the position, it doesn't stay with the individual. You know, I've been around long enough to know what Tammy does, and I certainly give her all the credit in the world for what she does. But I do hesitate to make these kind of changes for a position at a time where we've made determinations that we're not doing any reclassifications until we do a county-wide evaluation of all of the positions. And, you know, we can call this what it is, but it's still a reclassification. You know, it's taking a position that we already have, giving it a different title, giving it a different score, and paying it more money. And, you know, I don't know how else to explain it. This is a reclassification that the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners has repeatedly said we will not do reclassifications.
Okay.
And,
All right.
you know, that's where we're at.
All right, Administrator Benda.
The courts have a special place in our organization. They're,
Absolutely.
you know, the circuit and the district they're multi-county courts. What I heard them say was that they need a chief magistrate to supervise the other magistrates in other courts in other counties. Is that correct?
Yes.
That is, and the judges, as the administrators of their courts, have the authority to utilize the funds that are available to them to run that. They are the employer of those, and they are the managers of those courts.
Right.
So whether the county board, you know, wants to be consistent, you know, you can call this a reclassification if you want, but I'm hearing that the judges have said, we need to manage our courts a certain way. We need to make a person, you need to designate a person as the chief magistrate because she's going to be the go-to person. And I think you can, you know, you have the money, you have the power of the purse strings here, but you are treading on a spot that is actually reserved for judges in our system.
And that's what I was going to bring up,
So, you know, I don't see this as a reclassification. I see this as a reorganization of the way they do their duties. I also heard them say that since they're going to be supervising other employees in other counties, that a portion of the cost can be allocated to those other counties. And there's just one other point that I don't know if it's true or not, but I think that the caseload percentages are going to change pretty dramatically based upon what happened in 2012, so that the cost, the Grand Traverse County cost of those courts, district court in particular, is probably going to be dropping.
They changed pretty dramatically in the 2013 budget.
and they will change again with the 2014 budget. Interim
Carol?
Thank you. I really thought I was loud enough, Christine, I'm sorry. Antrim County in particular, their caseload has really increased, and so you will see the percentages, even though they've changed once with this year's budget, they will change again pretty significantly with the 2014 budget, and then, of course, I can't see the future, but that I know.
But so having said that, I think that, the money it's not like it costs the county additional dollars to do this. It is a reorganization of the way they're doing things. And because there are three different counties, they can allocate those costs differently. So that's just my thoughts. I think, the judges have the authority to run their courts, and I don't.
Yeah, and I viewed the request as something similar that our prosecutor did when he came in and said, I'm coming in and I'd like to restructure my office and duties and responsibilities, and I want to do a different position and those kinds of things, and the board said yes. So I view it in sort of the same manner. Commissioner Wheelock.
Okay. Yeah, and personally, I have no problem with this change, because I think I think David's exactly right. It's how you best manage your courts. And I give the courts an awful lot of credit for what they do with the specialty courts and all of the other things that we do, and I think we get a lot less credit than we probably should get for what we do for our community. And I have no problem with this. I just wanted to point out the fact that this is, in many ways, it is a reclassification, and, we have one on record opposing that, so.
All right, any other discussion on the motion? Commissioner Maxbauer.
Well, I'm going to support this, and the primary reason is I know Judge Stepka has been on this side. And I know he understands what the county issues are as far as budgets, and I trust his judgment.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Well, I would add that we trust the judgment of
well,
all
I'm
three
not
judges.
discounting Carol and
administrators.
TJ, but
I would just add that to your judgment.
let me sit and dig a hole and bury myself, shall I?
I was sitting out there with Judge Stepka tonight, and he said, he was on the county commission. He said even his worst day on the county commission had to be better than counting dead ducks and dead loons.
Okay, Commissioner Lemko.
You mentioned the specialty courts, and I had the opportunity to view it as the open house, and I also wrote a thing about caught doing it right. Your employees are doing a fabulous job for our community. They're saving lives one person at a time, and that's really huge in our community. And I want to say thank you.
Yeah, I invite any of you to come over anytime. We really do have a fabulous group of employees, and they all really work hard and have the public's best interest in mind. And I think, just the teamwork that we have and the camaraderie we have is really, second to none.
Yeah, pass that on down to the place. We really appreciate what they're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is everybody ready for a vote? Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Thank you.
Done.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming. It's good to see you. All right, we will now move on to Parks and Recreation. Jason, come on up. First item is the Outdoor Recreation Week proclamation on page 20. Jake, go ahead.
Jason Jones, your Parks and Recreation Director for Grand Traverse County. We have an interesting opportunity coming up in our community the week of May 19th through the 25th. Traverse City at the Park Place Hotel is hosting an international conference from the Society of Outdoor Recreation Professionals, as well as the International Union of Forestry Research Organizations, which sounds pretty fairly esoteric, but oftentimes outside of the United States, parks and recreation as an industry gets lumped in with forestry. So this is a really interesting opportunity for our community to be showcased. And I've asked that the county make a proclamation. A very similar one was made in the city proclaiming the week of the SORP IUFRO conference as Outdoor Recreation Week. This is kind of a capstone for several projects that we have going on in our community that I've brought to your attention. in the past, including the development of the Parks and Recreation Network, our single-source centralized hub website, www.gtrek.org, the development of the Experience 231 app that should go live later this month, focusing and providing to our citizens as well as visitors to our community all of the outdoor recreation opportunities within close proximity to them within our community. I've shared with you in the past, and if you have any questions about the positive benefits of Parks and Recreation from an obesity standpoint, preventing substance abuse, decreasing youth violence, as well as the economic impact of Parks and Recreation, I'm happy to talk about it more.
But you're looking for a motion right now to approve this?
Look for a motion to approve the proclamation in your packet.
Okay, and you want this to take immediate action as ratification of the board?
I would,
Because of the timing of the...
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay. Commissioner Maxwell.
I would move that the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaim May 19th through May 25th, 2013 as Outdoor Recreation Week in Grand Traverse County.
This is board. All right, and this would be a full ratification of the Board of Commissioners, so you will not see this if it passes on the consent calendar. Everybody understand that? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas?
Yep.
Rennie?
Yeah.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Lemkool?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes, motion passes. It's done.
Great, thank you.
Second item, do we want, Bob, did you want to make some opening remarks on your opinion before we get into a discussion?
Jason wants.
Well,
Or Jason, do you want
I have
to
an
make a remark?
update.
the contract was provided to you this afternoon.
I do? Where?
It was
On
emailed to
email.
you this afternoon.
Oh, I wasn't home, I was in Lansing all day.
The contract was signed around 2:30 this afternoon.
So we're all set?
We're all set.
Well, there is a question.
Oh, why don't you just go ahead and speak to it, and if we have a question,
Sure.
Bob can help us with it.
I met with two officials from the American Legion, Neil Horning and Dick Edmondson, I think. This afternoon, we clarified some questions that they had. We outlined some expectations that they have of Grand Traverse County, some expectations that we have of American Legion, and after probably an hour in going back and forth with clarifying and laying out some ground rules, they agreed to sign the agreement that I presented to them, I think on April 26th, which is an agreement that was vetted through our prosecuting attorney's office.
All right. Okay, so that's just a report.
And they will be coming back. I asked, after we signed the agreement, I said, should I expect, in order for me to properly present information to the Board of Commissioners and the Parks and Recreation Commission, should I expect any changes to be requested? They said they will come back to the Board of Commissioners seeking clarification on Resolution 17, 2011. And the clarification they'll be seeking is what exactly was intended when the County Board of Commissioners said actual costs to be charged.
Okay, all right. All right, so we'll just take that as a report. If anybody has any remarks. All right, move on to, Bob, do you have any?
You know, the only remark I have is that I don't think, when I was requested to write this memorandum, I don't think anyone expected that it was up to the County Board of Commissioners to decide what the fees were going to be for American Legion. I think the idea is that that should be up to the Parks Commission to negotiate with American Legion Baseball. And I think that's probably what the discussions were about, is how much are the actual costs. So, you know, I think that the board should consider at least passing another resolution that would remove that decision and put it back in the Parks Commission's hands.
Commissioner Max Bauer.
The American Legion asked me, this was weeks ago, whether or not, because they had questions about billing, whether or not they should bring it in front of the county board or the Parks and Rec board. And my answer to them was, I think because, and please understand that I was in the hospital when this resolution was passed, but it was my understanding that the resolution was passed by the county board, therefore only the county board could change that resolution. So I told the American Legion, you need to come to the county board. They came to the county board. You all will remember within the last month, American Legion came to the county board. The county board said you need to go back to Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec said Well, this was a resolution by the county board. We can't really do anything. The Parks and Rec Board said, will you please, to me and to Jason, will you please ask for clarification from Mr. Cooney, our prosecutor? I did that the day after. It was Friday morning. I was on the road to Lansing. I called Mr. Cooney and I said I would greatly appreciate some clarification as to this resolution, whether or not the Parks Board can change fees or not. And Mr. Cooney said this was a resolution, as I understand your memo, Mr. Cooney, please correct me if I'm wrong. This resolution was passed by the county board, therefore it stands, period. So where we are right now, whether or not we have a contract with the American Legion, yee-haw. I mean, I'm happy to hear that. The question here is, to me, whether or not, and maybe I'm wrong here, the question to me is whether or not the Parks and Rec Board can change the fees for American Legion. Because there's a resolution that says from the county board that this is what it's going to be. Mr. Cooney.
And my opinion is that you have to go back to the county board's resolution.
Thank you.
The resolution said it was going to be the actual cost, except for the first year is going to be half that. And you have to keep in mind that this goes back to the time when we were restructuring the relationship between the county board and the Parks and Recreation Department. And I don't know whether we had already done that or this was probably just be ahead of that. And so I don't think the board was intending to keep control of, what the fee is that they're
But
going to
yet
charge
the Parks Board can't change anything unless the county board says, unless I misunderstand what you're saying, Mr. Cooney, the Parks Board can't change anything unless this board says we can.
Right.
And then there's a determination what are actual costs.
But that should be left up to the director and the Parks Commission, I think. And I'm simply saying.
And that's fine.
The commission should probably pass a resolution that would indicate that the Parks Commission is no longer bound by resolution, I can't remember the number, and that.
I would make that motion. That the Parks Board is no longer bound by the resolution. What is the number again?
Will we have to rescind 2017, 2011?
No, you don't need to rescind it.
I'll support the.
I have a lot of support here.
All right. It's been moved by Max Bauer, and it is on the subject matter, so I believe we can accept the motion. It's moved by Commissioner Max Bauer, seconded by Commissioner Wheelock, to rescind the resolution dated what?
Well, not to rescind.
Well, you don't rescind
And I have to tell you, I think this is coming back, but we'll see.
Clarify the motion. We are rescinding that direction?
The motion.
No, we are
Pushing it back to them.
giving the Parks and Rec Commission authority
Okay.
over the American Legion baseball contract. How does that
That
sound?
sounds very clear. All right, okay.
I guess my thought is we're giving the Parks and Recreation Authority, Parks and Recreation Commission, the authority by which to establish the true costs of providing services in the recreational department.
In essence.
Whether it be for American Legion or whether it be for the YMCA or whatever, they are going to be the agency determining the cost.
All right, so it is, so we have an agreement on the
No.
motion maker?
Agree or no?
Now, wait a minute.
Because that's, the really, originally, the
Bob,
motion that you
how would
made.
you recommend?
My only concern about that is you said the true cost, so that kind of sounds like the original resolution, which was they have to at least charge the actual cost. Now, if that's what the commission wants, that's fine. If you want the Parks Commission to just be able to have carte blanche as far as negotiating what the fees are going to be, whether it's going to be actual costs or based on something completely different, I think that's what the board wants.
Jump in here anytime.
Well, if I can make a remark, and then we'll go to Jason. My understanding of the previous session was that, given the governing documents that the Board of Commissioners has approved for the Parks and Rec Commission, okay, that we have, if we have an issue or concern, at least a standing document, say 3 commissioners.
3 commissioners, yes.
Have to say, we would like to place this on the agenda for discussion. So.
And that's fine.
And we passed this motion giving redirection to the Parks and Rec Board based on, they had already made a decision, we had, in my mind, had reversed it and gave them further direction. So, I still believe that they still have the authority under those governing documents, and that given that we've given them direction already, and they have worked under that direction, I'm just trying to lead down the path here. To me, I think we just need to clarify that we're not governing the relationship with the American Legion. It's still under the Parks and Rec Commission. I think that's all we need to say. Am I off base, Bob?
No, I think
This is,
Okay,
Go
Commissioner
ahead.
Maxbach.
No, I'd like to hear from Jason.
Am I?
Commissioner Inman, I think you're correct.
Okay.
The way the Parks and Recreation Commission has moved forward with this, the agreement for usage of the fields is fully the responsibility, even with Resolution 17, 2011, with the Parks and Recreation Commission. It falls to our user agreement policy. So that, the agreement is with the Parks and Recreation Commission. Resolution 17, 2011 simply spoke to how we were supposed to charge fees for American Legion. Resolution 17, 2011 had no end date for when we were supposed to stop charging actual fees and start charging our published fees as we would to any other group. So I would suggest this, and I don't know if it's appropriate for me to offer a suggestion. We just signed an agreement, and we just signed an agreement with American Legion based on your direction to charge them actual costs, which what we've been charging them is labor for our staff to manage or maintain the fields, as well as material associated with that. We are approximately not quite a week and a half into baseball season. What I would ask of this commission is, I think this is something that I can't speak on behalf of the Parks and Rec Commission, but I think they would support this. I would ask that no action be taken tonight, so we don't lose the footing in moving forward with this year's agreement, but that the Parks and Recreation Commission and the Board of Commissioners come together to discuss how to fix Resolution 17, 2011, putting the ball back in the court of the Parks and Recreation Commission to determine fees for all future recreational use of our parks.
All right, Administrator Benda.
I spent a little time talking with the American Legion folks and Commissioner Max Bauer last week, and things have come a long way since then. But, you know, at the core of the issue is something that Jason is working on right now with the American Legion. They want to know if they were to do some of these things, if they were to modify, for example, for T-ball, not to have certain things done, and basically reduce the actual cost by reducing the amount of time that our facilities department works on fields and so forth. I think they're working that out and trying to find a way to reduce the cost to the American Legion. And if the Legion wants to come into the Parks Commission and say, you know, we'd like to be charged something different than actual costs, whether they be defined as cutting the fields twice a week or once a week or whatever, you know, then the Parks and Recs Commission runs afoul of the resolution that has been passed by the board, then they have to make a recommendation to the board to change that in some way.
So could we have would you just withdraw your motion if you agree with that?
I do agree with that, and I'm not exactly sure at this point what my motion actually was. And Bonnie is shaking her head. She doesn't know it either. You know, I do not want to lock in the American Legion to actual costs. I do not want to lock in the Parks and Rec Commission to actual costs. I would like there to be a negotiation that can be negotiated, talked about, whatever. And the way the resolution is right now, is my understanding is from Mr. Cooney that it has to be actual costs. We can't even argue what actual costs are. I mean,
May I suggest an amended resolution
Please.
or motion for you to make, and that would be move to give Parks Commission authority to set fees charged to American Legion Baseball. This resolution supersedes Resolution 17.
I will make that motion, Mr. Cooney.
All right, it's moved. So you withdraw your motion.
Yeah.
Commissioner Axlar, for the record, you agree to withdraw
Oh,
your
yeah,
motion in a
absolutely.
second? Okay.
Yes.
Now you...
Who seconded that?
Wheelock.
So now you have a new
Mark your
motion.
calendar, Bonnie.
We have a new motion by Max Bauer as presented by Bob Cooney, seconded by Commissioner Wheelock. Is there discussion on the motion? Rennie and then Administrator Bender.
For Jason, based on what our administrator said, are you doing any work with these people to try to lower these costs or not?
I'll be honest with you, I've had more communication with the American Legion in the past 4 hours than I have in the past 4 months. So yes, we've come a long way as far as decreasing the quality of care to our fields. We have some very nice fields. American Legion has not communicated to us in several years what their expectations are. For instance, we typically mow the Civic Center once a week. American Legion years ago asked us to mow the baseball fields when they were using them twice a week. Because that was the last communication by American Legion about the quality of care on the fields, we've maintained that standard of care. What American Legion did today is they asked if, for instance, on the T-ball field, very rarely does a T-ball team hit the ball out of the outfield. So do those fields need to be mowed twice a week? Or out of the infield, excuse me. Does that field need to be mowed twice a week? Likely not. Does there have to be a different quality of care for the 16 or the 14 and 15-year-olds? Certainly. But in changing their expectations and lowering or changing the quality of care that we provide to the fields, we can decrease their costs, their actual costs, yes. So
Is there some point where you can't go, where you'll have substandard fields, or do you have some standard you want to go by, or what?
We're willing to determine where those standards are at.
So
We're
that's up
waiting
to
for a
Parks and
proposal.
Rec.
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion? Commissioner, I'm sorry, it was Benda, and we'll go Wheelock, and then Lemko.
I just wanted to point out that we haven't had this thing inked for more than it's been less than 24 hours. Now we're going to change the rules that governed it to begin with. I just want to make that clear. They signed it based upon the resolution that's in effect right now, and you're going to change that right now. I don't think that's, I just think you need to think about that.
I would,
Commissioner Wheelock.
Well, County Board Resolution 17 should have never happened in the first place.
That's right.
You know, the county board had no authority by which to override the Parks and Recreation Commission and get involved in the thing in the first place. And I was very verbal at that point, and I haven't forgotten it yet. So, but that being said, I tend to be concerned about two things. One, we have a new document that's drawn based on the fact of the actual cost. And now that we're going to talk about allowing the Parks and Recreation Commission to negotiate and set those fees, I like David there, a little concerned about a new document, you know, that was negotiated under a certain premise, and now 4 hours later we're changing the premise. That concerns me a little bit. But what concerns me equally as much is I don't want any organization, American Legion or whatever, telling us what standards we will maintain county recreational facilities at. And that concerns me significantly. You know, we, Grand Traverse County Recreation Department, should make the determination of what standards county facilities are held to. And I spent my share of time coaching baseball and little kids from T-ball all the way through, you know, Babe Ruth leagues, and I've played on some fields that certainly were not of standard that they should have been having anybody playing on, because the liability of somebody getting hurt was significant. You know, I've been to high school fields that weren't a whole lot better, and I've even been on college fields that weren't a whole lot better, you know. But the most important piece of that, as far as I'm concerned, is we, Grand Traverse County, need to establish what is the acceptable quality of the fields that we're going to provide. If they don't want to play on those fields, then they need to figure out where they're going to play their games.
All right. Commissioner Lemko.
I think one of the things that might clarify this whole thing is whether if we made this resolution or this motion doable to the year 2014. That way, we're not interfering with the contract for this year, but we're giving the Parks and Recreation Board approval and permission to go ahead and negotiate future contracts with the American Legion Baseball. So I would like you to see if you would change that motion to specify for the future years after 2013. So we're not going to interfere with the contract that we have today.
Is this a 3-year contract?
It's a 1-year contract.
1-year contract. So the other thing I'd like to say is that I sure would like to get out of reasonable and cost fees. To me, that is the whole thing that's created this environment completely. We've never agreed in any kind of agreement with any of the other organizations to talk about what our costs are. We've set fees, and we've said this is what it is. And I've had a conversation with Neil at the American Legion, and I said, tell us what a yearly fee you would like to pay, and we'll find out whether or not we can pay that, or whether or not we can accept that as part of the Parks and Recreation. Stop screwing around with trying to figure out what's the cost of somebody to mow the lawn, what's the cost of somebody to set the fences, what's the cost of doing all this kind of stuff. All these things are somewhat, I always looked at as figures lie and liars figure. And so you can always push the pencil in multiple different directions. So if you just get away from trying to figure out what the costs are and figure out what is a reasonable fee to charge for American Legion Baseball for the program so that they can provide great programs for the children of our community. And the other thing is I'd love to see more of a collaborative effort between our Parks and Recreation and American Legion on providing baseball programs for our community. If there's a way to be able to reduce costs and they can work together to be able to make that happen, perfect. But it doesn't have anything to do with what the fees that are going to be charged. It's going to be how they're going to be able to provide a better quality program for the kids.
Okay, Commissioner Maxbaum.
In defense of the Parks Department and the Facilities Department, Commissioner Wheelock, and the American Legion, the idea of mowing twice a week was done long before all of these people were sitting in their seats. And it's one of those deals, and I know Commissioner Lemko just hates this, we're doing it just because we've always done it that way.
7 words, get rid of them.
So this isn't, it has just happened. I asked the American Legion, I said, okay, if we charge you $1 a year for a field, like we do T-base, what would it cost for a kid to play baseball? Approximately $30. So anything over that, is paying for our fields. What I'm after, I just want the Parks Board to be able to say, this is what it's going to cost. And right now, we have a resolution from the county board that says it has to be actual costs. Now, what are actual costs? Water, mowing, striping, bringing in dirt. I know nothing about baseball. The paths. What are actual costs? Basically, I would like to put this back in the Parks Board's lap. That's what my motion is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But can you do it for 2014 and future years?
Make it effective September 1, 2013. That's the end of the season.
Yeah. That seems fair.
All right.
You already have a contract signed.
Yeah. I don't want to screw around with the contract.
So does the motion maker agree that it's effective September 13?
But what are you saying, that right now the Parks Board can't?
They've already signed an agreement. What he's saying, what we're saying is, once that agreement expires, then they have that
2013, we're going to have to document actual costs.
Yeah.
But they're charging actual costs for 2012. What are those?
Well,
We charged actual cost
Your
for
mo-
2012.
Your
That
motion,
may
your
not be the
motion
same
is
as
to get away from the
2013.
actual charges. after-
My motion is to try to put it back in where it belongs, which is at the Parks and Rec
Let them decide
Commission.
how to charge it.
Yes.
Okay, all right. And that should be done after the contract expires.
No, that's, my motion
We're
is,
not going to change.
my motion
we
was
don't
to
wanna
put
change-
it,
We don't want to change the contract. It's already been signed.
I know, but the contract says actual cost.
Yeah.
What are actual costs? That should be able to be debated by the Parks and Rec Commission.
But we're going to remove that language from the Board of Commissioners.
No, that's not her motion. Her
That's not
motion
her
is that, her motion is that this becomes effective immediately, and we don't do the natural cost, or the actual cost for 2013.
Which screws up the contract.
Which I'm not going to, if that's
Well,
what you're
then
presenting,
vote.
I'm not going to
Then
vote.
take
Then
a
you're gonna vote no.
I'm going to vote no. I'm going to vote no if that's the
Okay.
understanding of the motion. If the motion is to
So
actually go back
basically-
and renegotiate a new contract,
No,
I'm
no.
not going to do that.
Are you telling me, though, that the Parks and Rec, based upon what's already been signed last year and as of 4 hours ago, they have no authority, then
They've already-
that's what I'm...
They had the authority. They already
No.
negotiated it.
They don't have the authority.
Yes, they do. Under the governing documents, they do.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
No, they don't, because the Board
No,
of Commissioners
they don't.
has determined that it will be at actual cost. The point about it is, actual cost is the negotiated contract that Jason signed this afternoon. And I think what you have to do is you have to leave that alone for the 2013 schedule, and then you talk about something different. But they do not have the authority
They
to
don't.
do anything other than...
We have an understanding
main-
on the motion.
You don't, Larry.
You're saying something different than Sonny is.
No, her motion is that she wants to change it effective immediately.
No, I
No.
want to put authority back into the Parks and Rec Commission's
I do not want
lap.
to change the contract that's been signed.
I didn't
Well,
say
but she
that.
didn't
That's what
say
you
that. No, she did not.
She did.
You said that.
That's
She
not
didn't
what I
say
said.
that.
I said I
You wanted
want
to go back and
authority
renegotiate
back
it right away.
to the Parks and Rec Commission.
That's fine. You said, I want to go back and renegotiate this contract
No, I
now."
did not. I did not ever say I want to
what I
renegotiate.
heard.
No, I did
All right.
not say I want,
But if they're
I
going to
do
change,
not want to
if
go
they're
down
going to
that
change the
road.
charges, you're going to have to.
Isn't
I
this
want
fun?
to, I want to clarify the motion before we get into further discussion.
I want to rescind
Now
the
that's-
resolution.
No?
Do you want me to
Bonnie,
read it?
read the motion. What in heaven's name did I
Move to
say?
give Parks and Rec Commission authority to set fees, I can't read your writing, charged to American Legion Baseball. This resolution supersedes Resolution 17, 2011.
Yes, that is my motion. Thank you, Mr. Cooney. Thank you. That is my motion.
Now, do you
Period.
believe, based on that motion, that Parks and Rec can go back and void out the current contract and renegotiate?
I don't
something
think they
different?
will.
All right.
I don't think there's,
Passing that resolution is not going to void the contract, because if it's been signed by both parties, it's a valid
Okay.
contract.
All right, further
It will
discussion.
void the contract, Bob, in your
no, it
opinion?
will not.
All right, okay, good. We have that clarification, that's all I needed. Now, further discussion on the motion. Commissioner Rennie.
I didn't want to hear what Bob had to say, so.
Okay.
You said-
Are we all set on the motion? Cool. All right, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Thomas?
I knew you'd start with me.
I have to go in this weird order. Did you say yes?
That's what I said.
Rennie?
Yeah.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Lemko?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes,
I gotcha.
motion passes. All right. Thank you.
Oh.
All right, moving on to Parks and Rec Rules and Regulations Amendment Request, page 22. And if Jason...
I'm going to be quiet on this one.
Jason, is page 22 just the change, and then we have the attachment? Is that the current one, and then what you want to do is you want to embody that language over to what we have attached? Is that what's occurring?
Correct.
All right,
You're just changing the sentence that's highlighted.
right. Okay.
Changing the sentence. to
Motion to
highlighted.
approve it.
Okay, motion by Thomas, second by Rennie to approve the recommended changes for the Parks and Rec Rules and Regulations Amendment. All right, discussion.
In short, the Board of Commissioners should keep their nose out of the decisions made by the Parks and Recreation Commission.
That'd be the ultimate goal. All right, any other
Which is
discussion?
basically what you just grudgingly voted for.
All right. Any other discussion on the motion? All All right, I'm going to do a roll call vote because this is a standing document.
Commissioner Rennie?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Lemkool?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes.
Thomas?
I'm going to volunteer for waterboarding.
Inman?
Yes. You've already missed the Red Wings game, so. All right. Jason, I think that ends your report. Is that true or not?
It does. I have some other new news.
Okay, go ahead.
Just wanted to inform the County Board of Commissioners that between the commission packet deadline and this afternoon, Grand Traverse County Parks and Recreation Department received a $5,000 grant from Rotary Charities to further explore developing recreational programs as outlined in the Parks and Recreation Commission's strategic plan, and that is a joint grant with TCAPS to explore recreation programs and any needs for recreational facilities for those programs to happen. So I wanted to pass on some good news to the Board of Commissioners that we were further supported by Rotary Charities in our strategic planning.
Okay. Great. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And you do
Wasn't
not,
that fun?
you do not have to bring that to us for approval to receive that grant. That's a Parks and Recreation, and that's the motion we just made previously that we're out of your business.
Rotary Charities asked me to make sure that you guys knew about it, so I wanted to make sure that I
And
was
we
here to tell you.
appreciate that information.
Unless we get 3 signatures,
All right, thank you.
which
All
is
right.
harder to do with only
Moving
7
on
of us.
to planning and development. We have a resolution accepting the MDEQ Brownfield Redevelopment Grant and Loan. Evening, Jean. If you get yourself introduced and you have the floor.
Good evening. My name is Jean Dorenzi. I'm the Deputy Director of the Planning and Development Department. In your packet, I am requesting, the Brownfield Authority is requesting 2 acceptances, one $1 million DEQ grant and a second $1.3 million DEQ loan. The grant would be utilized for the Traverse City Place Brownfield Plan, specifically the 207 Grandview Parkway property for demolition, dewatering, and some soil removal. The $1.3 million loan would be for the TBA Credit Union, environmental costs associated with and outlined within the Brownfield Plan. The $1.3 million would cover almost all of the environmental costs associated with that redevelopment. The loan does not require the county's full faith and credit and would be repaid by the tax increment finance realized by that redevelopment. We're recommending that both the grant and the loan be accepted.
Okay, Commissioner Lemkool.
I'll make a motion to approve the attached resolution accepting $1.351987 million loan for the Traverse Bay Area Credit Union.
Support.
Okay, support. Discussion.
I just want you to know that this has gone through the Brownfield Development Authority, and they have fully supported this, both of these agreements.
Okay. And refresh my memory, does this require a public hearing? We've had one?
No, the Brownfield Plan, the loan or the grants do not require public
Right.
hearings.
All right, okay, all right, thank you. All right, any other discussion on the motion? Commissioner Rennie.
Just had a question. You talk about trying to attract a developer. What if you don't get the developer and you spend this money?
We wouldn't spend the money unless we had the developer.
Secure?
Secured,
Okay.
correct.
Okay, further discussion? Hearing none, better go roll call vote on this.
Who supported that?
Motion by Wheelock, seconded by...
Motion by
Motion
Herb.
by Lemkool, supported by
Lemkool by
Wheelock.
Wheelock.
Commissioner Lathrop?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Lemkool?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas?
Yep.
Rennie?
Yeah.
Inman?
Yes, motion passes. Now we need motion on the...
I'll also make the motion for to approve the attached resolution accepting $1 million grant for 207 West Grandview Parkway.
I'll support.
Moved by Lemkool, seconded by Max Bauer to approve. Motion number 2, $1 million grant for 207 West Grandview Parkway. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Max Bauer?
Yes.
Lemkool?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas?
Yep.
Rennie?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes, motion passes. Okay, item number 2, Michigan Blight Elimination Program, page 34.
The
Jean.
The Grand Traverse County Land Bank Authority was awarded a $44,000 blight elimination grant from the State Land Bank Authority. And we can utilize that $44,000 on any one of the 4 projects outlined within our grant application. And outlined on page 34 of your packet, we had 4 projects that were identified in priority order. It was for the demolition of 2 properties that were tax foreclosed, the Acme Shoreline Preservation Project, the Joint Recreation Authority Barns, and the farmhouse at Maple Bay Park. The Land Bank Authority is recommending that we utilize the $44,000 for the Acme Shoreline Project for 2 purposes. We did ask for funding and were awarded funding for the demolition of the tax foreclosed properties, so we did secure another source of funding. And we also utilized $200,000 for the Joint Recreation Authority Barns project through a DEQ loan that we also secured previously. So the Acme Shoreline Preservation Project has been a vision for the township, and this will help secure that project. The $44,000 is only a portion of what is needed for the demolition. The Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy has raised the other funding needed to complete the demolition on that bay shore. So we're recommending that we be allowed to utilize the 44 for the shoreline project.
Commissioner Wheelock.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the acceptance of the Michigan Blight Elimination Program grant in the amount of $44,000 and utilize that sum to help with the shoreline preservation project in Acme Township.
Support.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Wheelock, seconded by Commissioner Thomas. Discussion, Commissioner Wheelock.
I guess the point that I would make is that the Land Bank Authority took this all into discussion for a while. We originally wanted to make sure that we had the ability to clean up those tax foreclosed properties that had effect on the immediate neighborhoods in which they were, and we had identified additional funding and received additional funding that allowed for us to clean those up and then have this $44,000 available. So, otherwise we'd have probably been trying to figure out how we stretch that $44,000 to clean up those other 2 parcels. We tend to normally use these blight elimination monies that we can find to clean up the foreclosed property to try to help the neighborhoods in which those properties are left.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. All right.
I also want to report to the county board that the Brownfield Authority, we received word late this afternoon, was awarded a $200,000 grant to the Joint Recreational Authority for a $200,000 cleanup for the barns. It's the only cleanup grant that EPA has awarded to the state of Michigan, and we received it for the barns area, and that'll definitely help move that project forward. So it was very good news.
Good job.
Well, I think
I got to tell you, Gene, I'm sorry.
it's just another thing that shows how Grand Traverse County is leading the way with the environmental cleanups of our community and trying to make our community a better place for all our citizens.
Ross Biederman took me, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, you can speak.
Ross Biederman took me over to the barns last week, and the one barn, I was just in the one they're working on, it looks like Noah's Ark turned upside down. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm excited about what they've done there.
Commissioner Waxbauer?
Well, I still remember, you don't know. My grandfather had his cow farm, which is where Myers is right now. And when I was a little girl, he used to take me across the street to the barns, and he would walk me through all the barns and everything. And so I have fond memories of that area. But that's just personal. And I had to share that with you because, well, what you do, Grand Traverse County continues to lead the way in Brownfield. And Gene, when nobody else gets cleanup money, you do. And that has not escaped me. And thank you.
You're welcome. It's been fun.
Great.
I can't believe we got it, actually. It's very rewarding.
All right, thank you, Gene. Appreciate it. Good job.
Gene.
All right, we will be moving on to the prosecuting attorney's report. Bob.
Bob Cooney, prosecuting attorney. I'm here tonight asking you to fund a vacant staff attorney position. You might recall most of you, back in October of 2012, I had asked this board to reinstate an attorney position that we lost in 2011. And the board did agree to do that. What you haven't done is agreed to fund it, even though I pointed out in the letter that I sent the board that we have over $178,000 in our personnel budget that will not be used this year. And what I'm looking at for the remainder of 2013 is to use less than $40,000 of that amount in order to hire the additional attorney. I want to point out a few things to the board that when I started as a prosecutor, an assistant prosecutor in 1993, we had exactly 6 attorneys working out of our office, and we still have exactly 6 attorneys in our office today. In 1998, we actually had 7.5 full-time attorneys, and we continued that until 2011 when we lost the position. And when I say lost, my predecessor during some bad budget times had agreed to give up that position to see how things went. He did ask the board to keep the staff position unfunded in our staffing plan because he wanted to see how things went. So historically, from 1998 until 2011, we had 7.5 attorneys. The half is a multi-county drug prosecutor, or at one point that shifted to a multi-county domestic violence prosecutor. And at one point during that time period, we had 8 full-time attorneys in our office. So what I'm asking you to do is to get us almost back to 1998 level of staffing for attorneys. I indicated, and this is something I don't ask for lightly, I want to make sure that people in my office are busy, and I wanted to see myself how things went after the first of the year. And what I can tell you is that we are very busy in our office. It is difficult to cover court hearings at this time. It's been impossible to attend important conferences and trainings. We've just canceled out because we can't attend what I think are important meetings for us to go to and trainings. We've been unable to fully participate in the diversionary courts, the sobriety courts, and the domestic violence courts that the judges talked about earlier. Vacation and training days are difficult to schedule. I'm fortunate that 3 of the folks that we've got on staff now don't have any vacation time, but I can tell you when they start to accrue enough time and take that time off, we're really going to feel the pinch. And goodness knows what I would do if someone quit, one of our attorneys, because we would have to go back and train and try to get somebody up to speed in our office. Just as an example, we have 3 felony trials all scheduled for the same 2 days in June, and I have one attorney who has to be gone those 2 days. She was assigned to the trial. She's a bridesmaid at a wedding. I think that's a pretty good reason to get out of a trial. But trying to figure out who's going to cover that trial. I've got a trial that day already. Noel's got another trial scheduled, so we're trying to figure that out. And we still have to have people to staff the probate, the family, the district courts, and we're just talking about circuit court. Commissioner Max Bauer, I'm sorry, you have a question.
Bob, I don't question, I know that you would not come to the county board and request this lightly, but my question is really kind of for the administrator. It's in his budget, he's got the money, it's in his staffing plan. Why do we need to take a look at this? I mean, if you've got the money in your budget,
We didn't appropriate it in the budget.
But he's got it-
The resolution you passed back in October, Mr. Benda did point out to me that, I had the same question, but Mr. Benda did point out that resolution does say that the board needs to go back and make that decision whether to fund the position.
well, I'll move to fund the position.
All right, motion by Max Bauer, is there a second?
Support.
A second by Commissioner Wheelock. Commissioner Wheelock.
Bob, my only concern is you have the money in your budget in 2013. Where are we going to find the money in 2014?
You know, the restructuring that I did at my office at the beginning of the year, you know, we have $178,000 in additional money that will not be spent unless I hire another prosecutor. Now, a full-time prosecutor is going to initially run about $65,000 a year. That's somebody with 2 years of experience. And obviously, the legacy costs are going to go up as people move up the pay scale and that. In addition to the $178,000, we also cut a staff person. I cut a staff person. Actually, she left on her own voluntarily. She took another job downstate, and rather than replace that position, I think I found a creative way to make sure we're fully using our staff. That was a partially DHS-funded position, and by reassigning her job functions to some other folks in our office, the staff that had a few hours here and a few hours there, we can still use that DHS funding. And so positions that were fully funded by the county before are now partly DHS funded. I'm trying to be very thrifty. I'm committed to being thrifty. And one thing we did recently is I found a way to cut $5,000 out of our lab testing fees. I'm pursuing grants for new technology in our office that will get the sheriff's office sending the reports to us electronically, so we're not spending all our time scanning. We are now fully using DHS funds that we didn't use last year, but that were available to us. DHS wanted to give us the money because they want additional coverage in the probate and family court, well, in the family court, I should say. And just by changing our accounting methods, making sure we're accounting for all of the time, for all of the people in our office who deal with those matters, we will fully use that money this year. At least we're on track to do that. And so I think you're going to find that our budget is going to remain below what it was in 2012 for many years. That's my guess. I think eventually we are going to catch up, because if people stay on, you know, that's not a guarantee either, but if people do stay on for a long time, those personnel costs do go up. But I think that if you consider the fact that we have 6 attorneys in our office right now, that historically we've had at least 7, actually 7.5 from 1998 to 2011, I think it's unrealistic to believe that we can just keep going on with 6 attorneys in our office, and it's a lot less painful to do it now while we have lots of extra money in our personnel budget, and we can absorb that cost without any difficulty. So that's one other thing I wanted to add is that you know, when we are not, our office is in the middle between all of the law enforcement agencies we deal with and the courts, and that there are a lot of efficiencies to be gained by doing things smart. If I have a hearing and I haven't had time to talk to the defense attorney and find out, is this something we need to have a hearing on? Can we call off our witnesses? Do we have to bring that deputy in on overtime? If I don't have time to do that, that deputy shows up and he may be sitting there for a couple hours on overtime. I think there's a minimum amount of time that they get every time they're called out. And if that happens, because I don't have the time, and it does happen from time to time, unfortunately, that's just a waste of money. And those are the types of efficiencies that we can, you know, hopefully achieve if we've got proper coverage, attorneys have the time to spend to manage their cases well. So I think there's time to be saved both with the law enforcement officers and with the courts, and I think that this is money well spent. One last thing, I had requested an Attorney 1 Step 3, and or at least funding that would cover that position. I would like to bring in an Attorney 1 Step 4, just because there were several people I had in mind who I'd have to bring in at that level in order to hire them, and that adds about $2,500 more than per year than what I was asking for this year, less than a little over $1,500.
All right, we'll go with Administrator Benda and then Commissioner Lathrop.
Okay, Bob, our system doesn't work the way systems that I've worked with before. Positions are positions, and they are kind of like they're static things. You fund them full-time, you fund them part-time, but you only have so many positions and so many classifications, and that list is your position allocation list. And what I heard you just say was that you eliminated a position because the person left, you rearranged some duties, you took the grant monies and had them doing the grant services so that you maximized your grant dollars. So you just told me that you've got a position that is on your list that's not funded. You also have another position on your list that is actually vacant and eliminated now. Is that correct?
Well, I guess it may still be on the books.
But it is funded and eliminated, though.
Yeah, I
You've
decided
eliminated it.
not to replace that position and to instead reassign the job duties to other persons I felt were not being fully utilized in the office.
There may be funding there
The
for
obviously the question is how can we pay for things? Bob makes a compelling case. I'm most concerned about making sure that we know where the money's coming from when we do things. And Bob just outlined a substantial portion of the cost of an attorney position because of the costs of one of these other positions. He also talked about some other things that he's maximized, some grant dollars. I'd like the opportunity to see if we can find those dollars to make sure that the dollars are there, the ongoing operational costs are covered by looking at his budget and talking with him and Dean about that, and seeing if we, if this is approved tonight, make sure that we amend his position list to make sure that it says the right things, get everybody in the right spot, and then and make sure that it's funded also.
So what I'm understanding is if the board wants to move forward with this, that you would meet with Bob and Dean and just
Bring back the funding.
Do a quick review on if there's anything that we need to tweak in that budget or move around or whatever, and
Right.
then we can ratify that at the board.
Yeah.
All right. Who was next? Commissioner Lathrop.
We're being asked, we've got a 2013 budget, and that's it, right? There's nothing in 14 or...
Nothing yet.
Okay. We have a strategic plan that we have yet to work on. We've got $1 million void structural deficit to face, and I feel like we're shooting in the dark because this board has, including me, decided to spend a bunch of money that we don't even know where it's going to come from into the future. I'm not against this, Bob. I just think that we should do a better job at right away getting this strategic plan thunk out, and right away getting that 3-year budget, superimpose these two so that we can look into the future and say, yes, we'll have the money. I don't even know where this money's coming from.
Well, we know right now we have the money in the allocation for his budget for this year, and if his budget remained level for the next several years, that he would have that funding. So I think we've got the time to do that analysis, but I think...
I'm not so much talking about this as
other things.
The trend we're having, where we have a trend, this board, that we want to be Santa Claus, and for good reasons. But do we have the money to be Santa Claus? We don't know. I feel like I'm making decisions.
I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And I think the point here is that we really have a public safety issue we need to resolve. Bob has reorganized his department, and based on his caseload and activity level, he needs to have this filled where it was positioned previously, but we wanted to do an analysis on whether it was really absolutely necessary to fill it or not. I think Bob has made that justification that we really need to fill it because it was a previous position. So, Commissioner Maxwell.
I hear what you're saying, Dr. Lathrop, and I wholeheartedly agree with you that we need to move sooner rather than later on next year and the year after's budget. We're only, at this particular point in time, talking about funding this position for this year. The money is there. But I do agree with Dr. Lathrop. I think we need to have a discussion sooner rather than later, and I don't care if it's next week, about when we begin our budget process for next year. I do not want to wait until August or September or October to start talking about next year's budget or the year after. I would like to start next month. I'd actually like to start this month, but I don't think that...
Next week.
I would like to start next week. I would.
You will get your wish.
Good.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
The Ways and Means Committee agenda that I signed off on this morning has 2014 budget listed on the calendar.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And Commissioner, and how did we word it? The philosophies and
Guidelines?
the calendar guidelines and the calendar are in the or next week's Ways and Means Committee.
But in the meantime, we do have the money for this position in this year's budget.
I'm not against it, Bob. I just wanted to bring up that trend.
I appreciate that.
Okay, let's go with Commissioner Lovecool, and then we'll go with Rennie, and then Administrator Benda.
Where are you going to put this person? You know, we saw...
Yeah, I went over and looked at your office.
Well,
we saw in the strategic plan...
Well, actually, one of the factors that played into not replacing that position is they took up an office space. We don't have a lot of extra office space. And I was thinking, you know, if I bring an attorney in, I got to have some office to put them in. And actually, I think it all worked out very well. And I was in front of this board before, and I said, you know, with the paperless system that we've gone to, it kind of makes sense that we need less secretarial support. And this was a secretary position that I cut. And so that kind of makes sense that finally we're able to come through on the promise that OnBase had, and that was that we're going to reduce the amount of secretarial work that we do in our office. Hasn't been as wonderful as we'd hoped so far, but we're getting there. So we do have a space to put another body. No windows, but...
Well, the other question that I'd like to see us kind of address is that you've already stated that that building is not really conducive to providing the services for our community that needs to be provided. And whether or not in your future budgets, somehow you start putting money in there for a building, or somebody's got to start putting money someplace.
That would be for us.
I was going to say.
But I mean, that's one of the things we have to start looking at, is you're talking about budgets, but, you know, if you had $178,000 and you could put that into a future building budget, wow, couldn't that be a long ways to be able to do that? And so, you know, that's the kind of discussion that we need here, is where's our priorities? Is the priority is to put staffing in there to give you that staffing, which also ricochets, because it starts to fill up our jails, and it makes our judges a whole lot busier, and you're doing a great job, and I think the community really supports that. So, but, you know, we have to decide where do we spend our money and how do we spend it properly so that we know where we're going. So it's just one of those discussions we are going to have lots of good discussions on.
And I think it's on our shoulders, really.
Yeah.
But we have Commissioner Rennie, and then Commissioner Benda, and then I think Max Bauer.
Okay, not against adding this guy, you got it paid for, but to echo Dan and what Chris had to say, as a new member, we need some We need this budget and we need this strategic plan so we know where the heck we're coming from on some of these issues. We're groundless. I would like to see a priority put on getting those two things done so that we can do this prioritization and move forward.
Okay, all right. Ben,
The, the reason I kind of started that discussion, because I know I've heard that from just about all of you. And it's really important that we identify when we go to increase operating costs, that we find a way to offset those operating costs with either a reduction in expenses somewhere or a new revenue or something else. Bob has really kind of identified, and this is something that I didn't know until tonight, that he had a position that he had basically eliminated without really letting us know that money can be that's financing ongoing operational expenses right now. He's also talked about some other things that are ongoing revenues. So I'd like to really look at that. I think what you've got is pretty much a rearrangement of the budget and with very little increase in cost to the county going forward. So the attrition you have in the budget is not, it's not going to be used. You're going to actually reduce that. And it's important that we get to keep that and not spend it on new things, because we've got it budgeted we got a $625,000 use of fund balance in our budget. Last year we had that, and we came out about $200,000 in the black. So, you expect that attrition is going to give you that $625,000 back. Otherwise, you've got to start budgeting for 90% of your payroll rather than 100%, and then it becomes very difficult to, at the end of the year, to meet your budget, and not overspend. Okay. So it's flexible for the departments to keep it this way, but we also have to be very disciplined in the way we spend our money, and we have to make sure that we identify where the money's going to come from when we're going to increase an operating expenditure. I think Bob has.
Commissioner Maxwell.
I have.
Bob, when Commissioner Lemkool asked, where are you going to put this person, and I kind of jokingly said in the broom closet, I was being somewhat serious, because I know that building virtually has no room in it. We've got room over here. Is it possible that you could put in I just would hate to put somebody, I know there's a benefit to having everybody work in the same building, but I'm just going to make a suggestion, and that is take a look at the empty office space in this building, and maybe, one person or two people, might not even be the new person, whatever, with electronics and being in such close proximity, I would just hate to put somebody in a broom closet when we have an empty space with a window.
Well, what I'll say about that is, in my strategic plan to the commission for the next 3 years, my number one priority was what I'm asking for tonight, and that was to get another attorney.
Yeah.
My last priority was, I simply asked the commission to put it on their radar because I knew there was talk about the Front Street building, maybe people are going to be moving out of there. I know that, I've heard there's a lot of extra wasted space in this building, and so I just felt that the commission should be looking at all options as far as what to do with our office. I know that it's frustrating to me that I've had so many people send me a resume and say, I'll come work for your office for the summer for free because I'm a sociology student, or I'm a law student, first-year law student, or even second-year law student. I just want to get some experience, and we could use those people. I'm sure we could put them to use. And a lot of law offices, particularly Wayne County, relies heavily on law students. Wayne County probably couldn't get by if they didn't do that. And we don't have that option just because I don't have a place to put them, and I can't have an attorney off in another building. They're not going to get the experience they need by doing that. They have to have people they can ask questions of. But, you know, that's a good idea. You know, maybe our child support folks, you know, we've
You know,
got
I really-
a couple people that deal with child support. Maybe they could be in
People
another
that
building.
don't, you know, work directly together, just take a look at it, because,
Yeah.
I mean, I can take you around the corner and show you space.
Yeah.
And I just would hate to have somebody in a broom closet unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Okay, who else was next? Anybody else want to speak next? Commissioner Rennie.
And just quickly, are we doing an analysis of the space utilization in this building as part of the strategic plan? Is anything like that going to go on so we can do something with this office or something?
I don't specifically recall that language in it, but I think when we go back, see, we have a draft document here that we
I saw
need
it.
to...
I didn't go through it.
Probably schedule another meeting with and have a discussion on. I think that your particular item that you have just brought up, I think needs to be ingraded in somewhere in this district strategic plan. So,
I think that'll all come out if and when we get to a point to talk about our capital improvement needs.
Right.
You know, and we do have a capital improvement fund, and we do have capital improvement needs. And absolutely, the prosecutor's office is amongst those buildings that we have capital needs. So is the jail. And, you know, those are key pieces that, you know, sooner or later, we're going to have to bite the
Yeah.
bullet and decide what we're going to do with it.
But don't be shy, you know, go talk to Dave and say, you know, maybe there's, you know, Sally Smith and Jimmy Jones that can come over here and work.
Yeah, and I've thought about that.
Sally and Jimmy don't get along.
In fact, we had room, when we were doing some painting, we had room 300 reserved for our office, so we could have an attorney come over here.
so if I could if the motion maker would allow, because Bob
That would have been
indicated,
me.
if the motion maker would agree that we had made a motion and Bob, during his presentation, asked for a step 4 attorney, which was $2,500 more, so I need clarification on the original motion, that was acceptable by the motion maker in a second. Okay. Further discussion. Commissioner Lathrop.
Okay, Mr. Bennett, are you satisfied with the information Bob gave you, or would you still like this motion to have you and Dean look at it?
No, I'm delighted that he's got this other position on here, but I think that we need to bring that back in too, and we need to get his position list correct, which takes that other position out of his.
So my question is,
It's a housekeeping issue.
It'll be done later.
We can still do this motion?
We can do this one today, and
Okay. All
we'll
right.
fix it after we talk to Bob and
Any other discussion on the
figure out where
motion
the
on the
money
floor?
goes.
The motion is to go forward with the recommendation by our prosecutor Bob Cooney and add a position. It would be a step 4 position.
Yes.
The amount would be $2,500 more than what's disclosed in the packet. Roll call
Yes.
vote, please.
Lemkool,
Yep.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas,
Yep.
Rennie,
Yes.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Max Bauer,
Yes.
Inman.
Yes. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Moving on to central dispatch. We have a 911 surcharge. We have to take immediate action on this as requested. Jamel, you have the floor. Get yourself introduced.
Thank you, Jamel Anderson, Grand Traverse 911 Director, and I'm bringing a resolution to you tonight. We do an annual report regarding our surcharge, and we have kind of put this on hold this year because of the litigation with the MPSC. And so on the advice of our attorney in Grand Rapids, we can't wait any longer. This has to be back to Lansing by the 15th. So we were kind of hoping for some more resolution with that lawsuit. But that didn't happen, so we need the authorization to request the 80 cents and hope that that will go through.
Okay, and the resolution is on your desk, and it looks like this. It's not in your packet.
Motion to approve.
All right, moved by Commissioner Lemkool, seconded by Commissioner Wheelock. And this
To make
would be-
immediate
and This
effect.
would be a ratification of the full board. Motion maker and second agree with that? Okay. Discussion on the motion. Commissioner Rennie. Yes.
Sorry. If we get to this 80 cents, what's our annual shortfall going to be? It's going to have to be made up by the county.
Our annual shortfall is
850,000 or more.
or more.
At the 80 cents?
Yeah.
Okay, what
It's not really going to add a whole lot of
What
money.
is the estimated surcharge amount needed to cover the 9/11 operations?
It probably.
Did you ever do that?
$1.25. Yeah, we have done it, not recently, because the only way we can do that is to go out to a vote.
I understand that
Public,
part, but we have to inform people what it really costs for this stuff.
Yes,
And that's part of being responsible.
I'm
So I think
aware
we
of
should
that.
know that number.
I'll be happy to bring back the exact number for you.
It was like $1.21, but that was like 2009, I think was the last time we actually did it.
Yeah, it was,
And
and
it
we've
was
done
like
it periodically.
$1.21
Much as it was,
at that point.
We've done it periodically, and it's changed over the years because of surcharge being collected on mobile devices as well. So I'd be happy to bring that back to you.
I'd like to know that.
You need to realize that also the MPSC has to approve these, and that's how we got rolled back to the 80 cents anyway.
No, 66 cents.
66.
66
was
cents.
66.
Yeah.
We still want 80, but the MPSC is only allowed
Well, I
us to
thought we
collect
wanted
66.
94 or something like that.
Well,
Well, we still do.
That was the litigation, was to ask us to collect 94 cents, because that was going to
The
give us the
shortfall,
80 cents.
originally, correct.
Plus some of the payback for the rollbacks over the last few years.
But it seems like we're still short.
We are.
We've never been fully funded
Okay,
that
do we
way.
want to get there, or is that just
We
something
tried
don't
to
do?
get there before, but it didn't quite work.
Yeah,
So that doesn't mean we
valid issue that
can
didn't
never do it
go.
again, but
I don't know that you'll ever get fully funded.
Okay, Commissioner Lemko.
What happened to the 94 cents?
it's not off the table yet. That is still pending, but we can't ask for the 94 cents on this resolution
Okay.
because the board had initially asked for the 80 cents, and that's all we could do right now,
Okay.
according to Doug
Thank
Van
you.
Essen.
Any other discussion on the motion? This is a full ratification on the board. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamel. Moving on to administration. Land bank appointment, immediate action. You have a resolution on your desk.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to appoint Chuck Korn to the Land Bank Authority as the Brownfield representative.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, seconded by Commissioner Lathrop, to approve the Land Bank Authority appointment of Brownfield Representative to Chuck Korn for a one-year term ending December 31st, 2013. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Thank you. Moving on to current vacancies, that's a report, I believe, from Chris, page 43. She's asking for, if we go to page 43, that we have let me read this real quickly here. Commissioner Lemkool.
We have had an application for Northern Lakes Community Mental Health Board, and then fairly late, we got another application, and it's my recommendation that we go with Jerry McKetty for the appointment to the Great Lakes Community Mental Health Board, and keeping the other person on file.
Didn't we do that already?
No,
Huh? I thought we did.
I thought we did that, too.
no.
Yeah, I remember.
We voted for him, remember his name?
No, we talked about it, but we didn't actually make a motion for that appointment.
I think you referred it to RMNA.
Did you?
I think that kind of rings a bell, that
Okay,
you
all right.
mentioned
Okay,
it, and they
let's
said
do it
we
again,
should.
Well, we can do it
So-
again.
So, yeah, my motion is to
All right.
appoint with immediate effect Jerry McKetty to the Community Mental Health Board.
Okay, moved
Support.
by Commissioner Lemko, second by Commissioner Maxbauer, to make that appointment of Mr. McKetty. And this would be a full ratification of the Board of Commissioners, and we're not showing the consent calendar. Is there a discussion? Hearing that.
Well, the only discussion is part of this recommendation that's before us in our packet is to appoint an ad hoc committee, because we not only have a vacancy on the Northern Lakes Community Mental Health Board, but we also have vacancies on the Building Authority and the ADC. So are we going to handle this one tonight and then still turn around
Yes.
and appoint the ad hoc committee?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Further discussion on the motion? All right. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, passes. Now we need another motion. Well, actually, we need to set up an ad hoc committee.
Right.
Any volunteers?
So,
Don't all jump up.
I will.
All right, Commissioner Lemkool, Commissioner Maxbauer.
Unless someone else wants to take my place, I'm happy
We
to
usually
step
have
aside.
at least three. Anyone else want to volunteer?
Who was on it before?
Max Bauer, aye, and Rennie? Or or was it Wheelock?
No, I didn't do that one.
I'll volunteer for it, but
Okay. We have to do it on
Wednesday
Wednesday.
afternoon
We
or
know.
Friday afternoon.
We-
We know.
Okay.
All right.
I'll volunteer.
We need a motion for an ad hoc committee for Glencoe, Max Bauer, and Lathrop.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Support.
second. Okay, you got that motion in a second?
Who's the second?
Max Bauer?
Max Bauer's the chairman.
There you go.
Yeah, let's make Max Bauer the chairman of that committee.
Well, that's the point they give it in the chairman.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Yeah, that'll keep her quiet.
No, it
No,
won't.
it won't.
Good luck with that.
You know, that's what they do. They make you chairman so you don't have a
Good
chance
luck
to
with
talk.
that.
Excuse me, it didn't work
Well,
with
yeah,
you.
when you're running a meeting, it's hard to talk.
I know. All right, we will move on to Administrator Controller Report. And under that, when he's complete, we have another resolution to look at.
Okay, yeah, I've got a lot of things on this report. I'm just going to go through a couple of them really quick. The jail is stabilized a bit. One of the things we found out is that we've got a really spiffy new jail information system that isn't producing the things that we wanted it to, and the jail's been they're going to bring in New World Systems who designed the system, and we're going to meet on the 14th. We have got all of our questions in advance to them on what we want done and when we want it done by, and I think that will help us a lot. I've met with the district judges and the circuit judges. I think that, everybody's on board with what needs to be done. I think that we just need the information disseminated, and I'm going to be working with them and working through that process. And I think everything's going to be fine. But it is up. Things are up. Felonies especially are up. And Bob's shaking his head yes. We've looked
Bob's
at
doing his job.
the data from the previous years, and there's quite a few more felons in the jail than there were in the past. So, and females are way up. But at any rate,
They cause all the problems.
yeah.
Hey.
But right now, we're not voting anybody out, so that's a good.
Well, I'm glad I didn't say.
There's a lot of activity with the Boardman River dams. I'm not going to go into details, but the Corps of Engineers has produced a couple of documents. I've sent a letter out concurring with those. The letter doesn't obligate us to actually do anything, but, it preserves our options. And we are now starting to look at hiring firms to design the Boardman and Sabin Dam removal. And that, one of those things is going to be taking place. We're going to have, the IT is going to be scheduling interviews on May 30th. So right now, those we're doing it basically with the two top firms. One works with the Army Corps of Engineers, and the other one was AMEC. So we're going to redo the whole process with them and re-interview them and come to a conclusion after that meeting.
Dave, on the dams, originally, they were going to do the Brown Ridge Dam and then do Sabin Dam and then do Boardman Dam. What was the rationale for changing that?
It's primarily the need to utilize the funds that are available for that bridge
Okay.
Don't
through
need
the
a
Road
bridge.
Commission, and I'm not sure what,
You don't need a bridge.
Well,
and I had a conversation with Chuck Korn again today about it. I mean, there's a lot of discussion going on about that, but we are getting to the point where some decisions have to be made about what we
You're
are
not running for
going to
the
do.
door, Mr. Cook?
yeah, and I really think it's really important to note that there was an inspection on the bridge, and so it'll be interesting to see how that inspection comes out and what kind of a situation we are into.
And you are under
But I have been talking with Mr. Korn, but I've also been talking with a lot of other people in our community, and I get the feeling that the community would like to see us do the Hartman-Hammond Bridge.
Sure.
And so,
that's where we need
everybody
one.
that I've talked to has said, why haven't you built it, and what are you waiting for, and let's get it done. So,
The answer is,
So,
All the environmentalists are standing back, and they got more
Well-
money than we got.
well, but I think there's a whole shift.
And that was the bottom line on the last deal.
Yeah, but I think there's a whole shift coming that says we're going to need the Hartman-Hammond Bridge.
People that are backed up bumper to bumper on South Airport in Garfield
They're not writing a
Township.
check to defend the lawsuit.
Well, the thing of it is
Well-
the comment was that if we built the Hartman-Hammond, we could also take and relieve all the pressure on Division Street.
Commissioner Lemkool and I serve the same district, and he and I are hearing the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I understand that, but you have to understand what originally occurred.
No, we're not.
We know what occurred, but I'm...
We're not worried about that. We're
but
just going
we're-
forward.
I'm
We're
telling you
supporting.
what we're hearing.
And I would hope we have
So we gotta move on
Commissioner's
to-
support.
We got to move on to the next subject.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
From the IT position, however, we need to get it done soon because the DEQ has required us to pull that dam out by the end of 2012, and we haven't even come close to getting started on it. So we got to get moving.
Yep.
Yes.
And we can't, if we're going to do Hartman-Hammond, that's going to be a 2-year, at least, project. And so,
Army Corps of Engineers can come in and do it in 2 days.
but normally it takes them about 10 years.
Let's not go down
They
that
can do it in
road.
two days, but they don't do it for 10 years.
Excuse me, National Guard, not the Army Corps of Engineers. National Guard could come in and build you a bridge in 2 days.
Float bridge.
A couple days ago was the kickoff for Smart 911.
Yeah, we got some
And
press on that.
Yep.
we're trying to get the word out on that. And Jamel and I are working with DTE. We met with Steve Rawlings to try and get some access to the central tower. If you don't know about that issue, just drive on River Road and look at the tower and look at that big hill that they have to climb in the middle of the winter to get to that tower. And they could go from the other side and it'd be a nice flat, short trip to get to that tower to maintain it. And we're trying to get that access on the short trip rather than the tortuous path. Summarized it well, okay. Quickly, we had the emergency management exercises past month, and Greg Bird was put to the test, and everyone I spoke with said Greg Bird just like a duck to water. He knew what he was doing, and he did a great job,
All right.
and we were all very proud that this pandemic flu exercise that we went through that went over a long time period went off so well. So you did a great job hiring your emergency manager. Bunch of these things we talked about. I wanted to talk about, we are talking right now seriously with the city of Traverse City on shared use and ownership of Woodmere and the West Front Street properties. As you know, those agreements are coming to a close. And we have some options built into those contracts for when the city police co-located with us in the Woodmere building and we took over the West Front Street Police Station. And now it's used for Commission on Aging and MSU Extension. We decided that it was time to get new appraisals, so and Ben Byfuss has agreed to that. We are, our equalization director and the assessor are working on that to choose an appraiser. We're not sure how that's going to turn out, but I just wanted to let you know that's starting to happen. And we can talk about it at length at another time. The legislative report. Revenue sharing still not restored in the 2014 budget, and the state of Michigan is still spending Grand Traverse County money. Just wanted to make sure everybody understood that Grand Traverse County hasn't gotten a dime. Wayne County's getting a ton of money. Other counties are getting a lot of money because they ran out of their tax money that was bailing the state out from paying counties.
Right.
Our money's still bailing the state out. I just wanted everybody to know.
Just a footnote on that, when I was down to Lansing today, all day, starting at 5 o'clock this morning, I had a meeting with Ben, the legislative director for MAC, Michigan Association of Counties, and he indicated to me that the legislature had set a number for Grand Traverse County for 2014, and he was going to go over there and look at it.
Okay, good.
Oh,
So, look into that for us.
how many digits?
I will.
Yeah.
The indigent defense bills are heating up, but apparently Judge Power went down yesterday to the hearings, and I got the Gongwer this morning, he was quoted in it, and it looks like it just got cooled off just a bit. They took a step back from all the testimony, because I guess there was a lot of testimony that wasn't really favorable for the way that it was structured.
And Jamel, that doesn't go to central dispatch, that goes to fill our $1 million hole. You were getting all excited back in that
she
corner.
was,
I had to
too.
clarify that for you before you got too much into a rush.
The tax capture thing, I'm not going to go into because it's too complicated right now, but it's really an interesting little quirk that just occurred that we just found out about, and if you get a chance to read that and you have any questions, give me a call on that. And then we have this municipal bond resolution in front of you that Commissioner Inman asked me to put together. I had actually written up a write-up on it, and then we've got a resolution opposing the elimination or reduction of tax exemption for municipal securities in front of you that we'd like to send off to our senators because they're debating it right now, and then to Representative Benishek because they're going to be debating it soon.
And we want to send this to Camp, because he chairs that committee, Ways and Means.
We can add that.
We need to add that to the resolution. But this is something that's on the front page of the NACO newsletter. This is front and center on the committee that I vice chair, the Finance and Intergovernmental Affairs Committee at NACO. This was on the table, then off the table, now it's back on the table. And what they're going to do, what they want, what Obama wants to do, and maybe the Congress wants to do, is help balance their budget on our backs. That means taking away the tax exemptions on our bonds. That means we would have to have higher costs for financing bonds, and the marketability of our bonds will not be as attractive to investors.
They might as well just tax us.
So we want to make sure that we're, as I explained to them when we were in Washington, you remember the meeting we had with Congressman Benishek, we're already getting it from all sides. We don't need one more ding. So.
Would that affect the bonding that the road commission would be putting in place if they came before us?
All bonds.
All municipal bonding.
Yeah,
All
so
infrastructure projects.
That's why we need to get this into
That's right.
Washington
Yeah.
as quick as possible. So that's why I asked Dave.
All it would do is change, the people who are buying bonds will go, geez, I can't make any money on this, there's no tax exemption on it, so it goes up by 1%. So we have to sell it for 1% more, and we got to take money of our pocket to pay it, and they get to reduce the federal deficit with it. So you might as well just tax us.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
So if I could have you if I could have someone make a motion to approve this resolution with the addition of sending to Congressman Camp, because he chairs Ways and Means Committee for the House of Representatives.
Dickie Duke.
Moved by Thomas, seconded by Rennie. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, passes. All right.
And that is all I have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that. So that takes care of the Control Administrative Report and the Legislative Report. We now move on to unfinished business. And there was a question at the previous meeting by Commissioner Mackbauer, which I took under my wing for Claims and Accounts as chair of that committee, about the question of paying per diems to certain elected officials.
And
I believe, in summary, it is his opinion, if you correct me if I'm wrong.
it's very thorough and explicit.
If it's within their, if the position requires them to be a member of those boards, then they don't get a per diem. And if they are asked to do something beyond what is required of them by statute, and they're placed on the boards by this commission, or they're on those boards, then they're eligible for per diem, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
I got that.
All right. So we can make those adjustments to those individuals.
I got that.
All right. So that, we understand that opinion.
I got that.
All right, good.
Thank you.
Any new business? I don't think we have any. Second public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak? Okay.
Jim Upson.
Commissioner committee reports.
I would mention that I have been invited to speak briefly at the groundbreaking ceremony at the Depot property on 25th, I believe.
Okay.
And I will be speaking on behalf of the Grand Traverse County Land Bank and Housing Trust Fund at that occasion.
Great. Any other commissioner committee reports? Commissioner Lunko.
The changing of the guard for the Coast Guard. You've all gotten invitations for that. If you would please make your reservations so that they know who's all coming. With the security at the Coast Guard base, they need to know you are coming before you decide to come, so that your name would be on that list. So I would encourage you to all, if you haven't been to a change in the guard ceremony, it's very, very well done, and we're going to lose an excellent member of the Coast Guard from Grand Traverse County, but we will also gain a new member from the Coast Guard to Grand Traverse County, and we hope that we would welcome him with open arms as much as we have with Commander Pizzella.
Dave, is this something that if commissioners have not done yet, can they work through Linda, just centralize it, and just get it all over there at one time, name, addresses, DOB stuff?
So what I'm wondering also is to make, whether or not we should make a resolution, stating what a great job Joe has done for our community and representing the community, so in recognition of the service that he's done, if you would like to do that as commissioners. I think we ought to do that and make sure that it's available. I don't know if we've done that in the
We
past.
kind of did when we asked to have his term here
Extended.
Yeah, I know, but I would like to have a resolution thanking him for his service for our community.
We need a motion to amend the agenda, and then we can go to that.
I'll make that motion to amend the agenda.
All right, is there a second? Okay. Discussion?
Who is second?
I made the motion.
Second by
and-
Rennie. To amend the agenda to include a resolution for the Coast Guard commander. All right, all in favor?
Thanking him.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Now I'll make the motion that we have a resolution thanking the commander for his service to Grand Traverse County and the citizens of our community.
And then we can try to get that prepared by staff and presented to us at our board meeting.
At our board meeting, right.
Okay.
Second.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Lathrop. Is there discussion? Commissioner Thomas?
When is this changing of the guard?
June 7th.
10 a.m.
Oh, they'll let us know.
I think you can do your RSVP on the internet through the invitation they sent out.
Well, there's also a phone number for Mr. Thomas if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Any discussion on the
You got
motion?
smoke signals?
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, passes. So if you could have, David, you and staff can work on that resolution for the board meeting.
And then also tomorrow night is the recognition for the 50th anniversary of nurses for the Northwestern Michigan College, and I will be attending that. And it's just going to be a great celebration of how the college has been so supportive in providing quality nursing care and nursing education, so we could have the quality nursing care that we have in our community.
All right, great. Thanks. Any other committee reports? Notices and announcements. Just one question, Dave. Now that we have this draft that was on our desk for strategic plan, it's a pretty thick document. I need some time to really, I think we all need some time to go through it. Would you suggest that we attempt to schedule a separate meeting to go through this whole thing and then talk about the budget as well, and rather than try to tack it onto a committee of the whole that might be already filled?
Well,
Is that what
yes,
we'd like to do?
you could do that. You'll notice that if you look at it a little bit closely, you'll see that the first few pages have the executive summary information in it, and then a whole bunch of this is basically the departmental requests, the plans that the department submitted, and what we've done is kind of categorize those and put numbers next to them that correspond to the numbers on your overall goals. What we really need to do is kind of, as we go through this, start to identify which ones are the most important of the things that folks have been requesting. For example, Bob Cooney asked for, in his plan, consideration about maybe doing something about his digs, and we got to decide whether that's a high priority, and start pushing all those things to the top and make sure they get on the list, and make sure, probably more importantly, take things off that can't be done right now, or whatever it is. I mean,
I would just see this as
the starting
kind of
point.
this would be the last step in their strategic planning process, is to make any changes, prioritize the first year, and then ratify it, make any changes, and then I don't know if we need to bring her in or not, again or not, but.
I think we've got all the tools we need right here. It's just a matter now of...
Personally, I'd like to schedule just a separate time and date where we can just get into this and be focused.
So let's look at this now and then come prepared at next week, Wednesday's meeting, for if you've got a lot of questions and you want to do another meeting, look at a date that we might be able to put together and be able to have that available, so we can look at our calendars next week and be able to, if we can put that on the agenda, Mr. Wheelock, to set up a date for the next.
It's already out.
Okay, well.
So you'll have to amend it.
Either next week or at the Board of Commissioners meeting in 2 weeks.
We'll do that.
All right.
Good. Any other notices and announcements?
I just want to say thank you for getting this.
This is a beautiful document. You
I don't know how good it is, I haven't looked at it.
I haven't
so.
looked at it either. I mean, it's packaged very nicely.
I was scanned through
And it didn't get in on my machine for some reason, so we had to figure out how to do that.
Any other notices and announcements?
We can get out to your machine.
Hearing no other notice and announcements, we don't have a closed session, is that correct? Mr. Brendan, okay.
No closed session.
We need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, seconded by
Me.
Commissioner Maxbauer. All in favor?
Me. Aye.
Stand adjourned.
Oh, no.
I'm going to be biking home in the dark.
Winter's still here.
Nah.